Manayam Shri Guru Shiyata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishkam Vitam Sya Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanajana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurgam Garganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Abhidam Ujwalam Bharatanam Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bijapradam Devam Divyatanam Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Banditam Shubhadam Mareka Sharanam Yashishvara Sridharam Vanshakopatarubyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyavascha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahamaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurata Vishay Nama. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is the Adi-lila chapter 11, the expansions of Lord Nityananda. Nityananda Paramboja Bringan Prema Madhund Madan Natva Kilan Teshu Mukya Likyante Katichinmaya Nityananda Paramboja Bringan Prema Madhun Madan Natvikan Natva Kilan Teshu Mukya Likyante Katichinmaya. After offering my obeisances unto all the devotees of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who are like bumblebees collecting honey from his lotus feet, I shall try to describe those who are the most prominent. Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Tahara Charanashrita Jai Se Danya. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyone who has taken shelter at his lotus feet is glorious. Jaya Jaya Sri Advaita Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu Sarva Bhakta Brinda. All glories to Sri Advaita Prabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tasya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sat Prema Mara Shakina Urdhva Skanda Vadhu Tendo Saka Rupan Gananumaha Tasya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sat Prema Mara Shakinaha Urdhva Skanda Vadhu Tendo Shaka Rupan Gananumaha. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the topmost branch of the indestructible tree of eternal love of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the topmost branch of the indestructible tree of eternal love of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I offer my respectful obeisance to all the sub-branches of that topmost branch. Sri Nityananda Brikara Skanda Gurutar Tahate Janmila Shaka Prashaka Vistar. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is an extremely heavy branch of the Sri Chaitanya tree. From that branch grow many branches and sub-branches. Malakarer Ichajale Bore Shakagan Premafula Fale Bore Chaila Bhuvan. Watered by the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these branches and sub-branches have grown unlimitedly and cover the entire world with fruits and flowers. Asankyanandagana Kekaru Ganan Apana Shodite Kohi Mukya Mukya Jan. These branches and sub-branches of devotees are innumerable and unlimited, Who could count them? For my personal purification, I shall try to enumerate only the most prominent among them. One should not write books or essays on transcendental subject matter for material name, fame, or profit. Transcendental literature must be written under the direction of a superior authority because it is not meant for material purposes. If one tries to write under superior authority, he becomes purified. All Krishna-conscious activities should be undertaken for personal purification, apana shodite, not for material gain. Sri Virabhadra Gosai, Skanda Mahashaka, Tarupa Shakajat, Asankyatara Leka. After Nityananda Prabhu, the greatest branch is Virabhadra Gosai, who also has innumerable branches and sub-branches. It is not possible to describe them all. Sri Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Virabhadra Gosai was the direct son of Srila Nityananda Prabhu and a disciple of Janavi Devi. His real mother was Vasudha. In the Gaur Ganadesh Dipika, it is mentioned, he is mentioned as an incarnation of Kshirodakshay Vishnu. Therefore, Virabhadra Gosai is non-different from Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In a village of the name Jamatapur in the district of Hooghly, Virabhadra Gosai had a disciple named Yadunathacharya, who had two daughters, a real daughter named Srimati and a foster daughter named Narayani. Both these daughters married, and they are mentioned in the Bhakti Ratnakara. Virabhadra Gosai had three disciples who are celebrated as his sons, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Ramakrishna, and Ramachandra. The youngest, Ramachandra, belonged to the Shandilya dynasty and had the surname Vatavyala. He established his family at Kadadaha, and its members are known as the Goswamis of Kadadaha. The eldest disciple, Gopijana Vallabha, was a resident of a village known as Lata, near the Manakara railway station in the district of Bardwan. A second, Ramakrishna, lived near Maladaha in a village named Gayeshapur. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur notes that since three disciples belonged to different gotras or dynasties and all also had different surnames and lived in different places, it is not possible to accept them as real sons of Virabhadra Gosai. Ramachandra had four sons, of whom the eldest was Radha Madhava, whose third son was named Yadavendra. Yadavendra's son was Nandakishore, his son Nidhi Krishna, his son was Chaitanya Chanda, his son was Krishna Mohan, his son was Jagamohan, his son was Rajanath, and his son was Shamala Goswami. This is the genealogical table given by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for the descendants of Virabhadra Gosai. Okay. Ishvara Hoya Kahai Mahabhagavat Vedadharma Titaya Vedadharmirat. Although Virabhadra Gosai was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he presented himself as a great devotee. And although the Supreme Godhead is transcendental to all Vedic injunctions, he strictly followed the Vedic rituals. Antare Ishvara Cheshta Bahire Nirdamba Chaitanya Bhakti Mandape Teho Mulastamba. He is the main pillar in the hall of devotional service erected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He knew within himself that he acted as the Supreme Lord Vishnu, but externally he was prideless. Adyapi Jahara Kripa Mahima Hoite Chaitanya Nityananda Gaya Sakala Jagate. It is by the glorious mercy of Sri Virabhadra Gosai that people all over the world now have the chance to chant the names of Chaitanya and Nityananda. Say Virabhadra Gosaira, Loinu Sharan, Jahara Prasade Hoi, Abhishta Puran. I therefore take shelter of the lotus feet of Virabhadra Gosai, so that by his mercy my great desire to write Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita will be properly guided. Sri Ramadasa Ara, Gadadhar Das, Chaitanya Gosaira Bhakta, Rohitara Bhash. The devotees of Lord Chaitanya name Sri Ramadas and Gadadhar Das always live with Virabhadra Gosai. So there are three. Today is on the calendar. There's one of them is it the disappearance day of one of them mentioned is Gadadhar Das, who's mentioned here. Are you clean?
I took a shower.
Huh?
I took a shower.
I have it here in my
I had a sweet though.
Oh, that's your cloth is clean.
It is the disappearance of Sri Gadadhar Das Swami, Sri Janardan Pandit, and Srinivas Acharya. Wow, space out.
Gadadhar Das, Srinivasacharya, and
Dhananjaya Pandit.
Dhananjaya.
Go Pashtami, Go Dashtami, Go Puja, and Go Grasdan.
Yeah, that's when the cows are given food and some special nourishment.
Prabhu has a cow.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll give your cow a special nourishment today, right?
Right.
All right. But today is...
This is different from Gadadhar Pandit, right?
Yes. In the heart and halo Gadadhar, there is description of the two of them. And what... In Adi-lila, Gadadhar Pandit is holding the helm. Everything belongs to him. This is Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj speaking. In Adi-lila, Gadadhar Pandit is holding the helm. Everything belongs to him. Still, he has to admit he's dispossessed, that Gauranga has taken everything. He is exhaustively dedicated to Gauranga. So Srila Kaviraj Goswami says, Teo Latmi Rupa Tara Samakeho Nai, that he represents the main potency of Gauranga and no one is to be compared with him. This is the conclusion of Srila Kaviraj Goswami about Sri Gadadhar. He is Gaura Prema Maya, the embodiment of Sri Gaura's love. So that's Gadadhar Pandit. Gadadhar Das represents the halo of Radharani, but Gadadhar Pandit represents her mood, her nature, her heart. And as if Mahaprabhu is taken away, Gadadhar Pandit's soul and the body is still standing. That is the position of Gadadhar Pandit. He is quite empty and following Mahaprabhu. He's not fooling himself. So a description of how, then it goes on. I believe earlier there's more description of Gadadhar Das. Anyway, I don't know exactly where to look in here, but there is some description of the difference between Gadadhar.
It's actually in a footnote.
What?
I think it's in a footnote. I don't know.
You're probably right.
It's explained clearly in the main text. Do you want me to have a look?
Yeah, you can take this book, and the footnote would probably be. Okay, here it is. In Adi-lila, 1053, which is, it is explained that Srila Gadadhar Das, the 23rd branch of the Chaitanya tree, is considered to be a united form of Chandrakanti, who is the effulgence of Srimati Radharani, and Purnananda, who is the foremost of Lord Balaram's very dear girlfriends. Thus, Srila Gadadhar Das was one of the associates of both Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. I think there's some other description, but I can't find it just at hand. Okay. So I'll go. Sri Ramadas, Aragadadhar Das, Chaitanya, Gosai Bhakta Rohi, Tarapash. Two devotees of Lord Chaitanya named Sri Ramadas and Gadadhar Das always lived with Sri Virabhadra Gosai, Nityananda's son, that we're reading the chapter of the branches, the branch of Nityananda Prabhu, the expansions of Lord Nityananda. And today is disappearance day of Gadadhar Das, and also Srinivasacharya said?
Yeah, Srinivasacharya, yeah.
Srinivasacharya, and also third person.
Dhananjaya Pandit.
Huh?
Dhananjaya
Dhananjaya Pandit.
Anything about?
Okay. Nityanande Adi-lila Jabe Gode Jaite Mahaprabhuve Dui Dila Tara Sate Ateva Dui Gane Duhara Ganan Madhava Basudeva Gosharo E Bibaran. When Nityananda Prabhu was ordered to go to Bengal to preach, these two devotees, Sri Ramadas and Gadadhar Das, were ordered to go with him. Thus they are sometimes counted among the devotees of Lord Chaitanya and sometimes among the devotees of Lord Nityananda. Similarly, Madhava Ghosh and Vasudeva Ghosh belong to both groups of devotees simultaneously. Ramadas Mukhya Shaka Sakya Prema Rasi Shola Sangera Kashta Jay Tuli Koila Bamshi. Ramadas, one of the chief branches, was full of fraternal love. That means Sakya Ras, or Sakya Prema Rashi, is mentioned. Ramadas, one of the chief branches, was full of fraternal love of Godhead. He made a flute from a stick with 16 knots. So that was mentioned yesterday about a flute of 16 knots. So that would be a big flute. 16 knots in the bamboo. Gadadhar Das, Gopi Bhave, Purnananda, Jaragore, Dhanakeli, Koila Nityananda. Srila Gadadhar Das was always fully absorbed in ecstasy as a gopi. In his house, Lord Nityananda enacted the drama Dhanakeli. Sri Madhava Ghosh, Mukhya, Kirtaniya Gane, Nityananda Prabhu Nritya, Korijara Gane. Sri Madhava Ghosh was a principal performer of Kirtan. While he sang, Nityananda Prabhu danced. Vasudeva Gite, Kore Prabhu Rabarnane, Kashta, Pashana, Drave, Jahara Shravane. When Vasudeva Ghosh described Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda while performing kirtan, even wood and stone would melt upon hearing it. Murari Chaitanya Dasar Alokika Lila Vyagragale Charamare Sarpasane Kela. There were many extraordinary activities performed by Murari, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes in his ecstasy he would slap the cheek of a tiger, and sometimes he would play with a venomous snake. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Murari Chaitanya Das was born in the village of Sharvrindapur, which is situated about 2 miles from the Galashi station on the Bardwan line. When Murari Chaitanya Das came to Navadip, he settled in the village of Modadruma, or Mamgachi Gram. At that time, he became known as Shanga, or Shanga Murari Chaitanya Das. The descendants of his family still reside in Sharapata. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there is the following statement: Murari Chaitanya Das had no material bodily features, for he was completely spiritual. Thus he would sometimes chase after tigers in the jungle and treat them just like cats and dogs. He would slap the cheek of a tiger and take a venomous snake on his lap. He had no fear for his external body, of which he was completely forgetful. He could spend all 24 hours of the day chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra or speaking about Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Sometimes he would remain submerged in water for 2 or 3 days, but he would feel no bodily inconvenience. Thus he behaved almost like stone or wood, but he always used his energy in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. No one can describe his specific characteristics, but it is understood that wherever Murari Chaitanya Das passed, whoever was present would be enlightened in Krishna consciousness simply by the atmosphere he created. Now, Murari Chaitanya was the person. Shanga Thakur was, as I mentioned, he was asked by his deity Gopinath. The deity of his deity Gopinath said, "You're getting old, so when you're gone, who will take care of me?" And then Shanga Thakur, he said, "Don't worry. The first person I meet tomorrow morning, I will make him a disciple." So when he went to bathe in the Ganga, there was a dead body floating on a banana trunk. That's what they used to do with persons who died as a result of a cobra bite. So he brought that body to shore and revived the dead body and then initiated him. And that became Murari Chaitanya. And perhaps because he was already dead, that's why Murari Chaitanya had no material body, and he, in the sense that he would play with tigers and venomous serpents, because probably if you're revived from being dead, you're not so fearful of death.
Timing for Halloween and All Saints Day.
Well, tomorrow is is called the Day of the Dead.
And is it today that's All Saints Day?
Yes, today is All Saints Day. Nityananda Gana Jata Savabraja Saka Shringa Betra Gopavesha Shiri Shikipaka. All the associates of Lord Nityananda were formerly cowherd boys in Brajabhumi. Their symbolic representations were the horns and sticks they carried, their cowherd dress, and peacock plumes on their heads. So, they would play on horns. Sometimes they'd play on buffalo horns, play them, and sticks. They'd carry rope for binding the rear legs of the cows when they milk them. Govinda Maharaj, he said he grew up in Brahmanpur, which is now called Vamanpur. And he said most of the people in that village were cowherd boys. And they used to invite him and his father to their houses and for some program, and they would feed them with muri with gore and bananas, or sometimes chira with gore and bananas, and yogurt. Because Govinda Maharaj's family was Brahmins, so the cowherd persons are not supposed to cook for the Brahmins, but they could give them muri or they could give them chira. And Govinda Maharaj said that was considered like a feast.
Why couldn't they feed?
Huh?
Why couldn't the cowherd feed?
Because they're not supposed to be cooking for Brahmins. Brahmins, yes, it's just, you see when Mahaprabhu traveled, he would usually eat at the house of a Brahmin. That was just the Brahmins would, the cowherd persons in the other divisions of society, they wouldn't cook for Brahmins. Raghunatha Vaidya Upajaya Mahashai Jahara Darshane Krishna Prema Bhakti Hoy. The physician Raghunath, also known as Upadhyaya, was so great a devotee that simply by seeing him, one would awaken his dormant love of Godhead. Sundarananda Nityananda Shaka Brityamarma Jarasangi Nityananda Kore Braja Narma. Sundarananda, another branch of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, was Lord Nityananda's most intimate servant. Lord Nityananda Prabhu perceived the life of Brajabhumi in his company. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Antya Kanda, it is stated that Sundarananda was an ocean of love of Godhead and the chief associate of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Sundarananda Prabhu was a Naishtika brahmachari. He never married in his life, therefore he had no direct descendants except his disciples. But the descendants of his family still reside in the village known as Mangaladihi in the district of Bardwan. In that village, same village is the temple of Balaram, and the deity there is regularly worshipped. Kamalakara, Pipalai, Alokika Rita, Alokika Prematara, Bhuvane Bidita. Kamalakara, Pipalai, is said to have been the third Gopal. His behavior and love of God were in common, and thus he is celebrated all over the world. So when it says third Gopal, this is a reference to what is called the Dwadasha Gopals, the principal associates of Lord Balaram and Krishna Lila. There are 12 principal cowherd boys who are among Balaram's close associates. And those Dwadasha Gopals, they're all within the Nityananda's associates and followers, the Dwadasha Gopals. So here it says, Kamalakara Pipalai is said to have been the third Gopal. His behavior and love of God were uncommon, and thus he is celebrated all over the world. Suryadas Sarakela Tara Bhai Krishnadas Nityanande Drida Vishwas Primara Nivas. Suryadas Sarakela and his younger brother Krishnadas Sarakela both possessed firm faith in Nityananda Prabhu. They were a reservoir of love of Godhead. Gauridas Pandit Jara Premod Danda Bhakti Krishna Prema Dite Nite Dore Mahashakti. Gauridas Pandit, the emblem of the most elevated devotional service and love of Godhead, had the greatest potency to receive and deliver such love. The Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, it is said that Gauridas Pandit was always patronized by King Krishnadas, the son of Harihoda. Gauridas Pandit lived in the village of Shaligram, which is situated a few miles from the railway station Mudagacha, and later he came to reside in Ambika Kalna. Okay. So Gauridas Pandit, there were as far as I know, 3 sets of deities of Mahaprabhu that were worshipped during his presence. And one was the deity of Vishnu Priya, and that's deities now in Navadvip. The other deities worshipped during his time were the deities of Gaur Gadadhar in Champahati, and they were worshipped by Dvijavaninath, I believe. And the third deity is Gaur Nityananda, which is worshipped in Kalna, in which it were the deities of Gauridas Pandit. And there was Lila that happened there with Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu and one festival that they had there. And those deities, they were dancing. And then the deities came off the altar and were dancing with the devotees. And then, what is it then? Then Gauridas Pandit told Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu they couldn't leave. They had to stay there. So Nityananda and Mahaprabhu, they went onto the altar and they became deities, and then the deities were walking out with the devotees who were leaving. And then Gauridas Pandit said his deities could not leave, and then the deities came back onto the altar, and then Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu left. So some Leela festival they had with, I believe, Janardan Devi there in that temple. But the other deities in Champahati and in Navadvip, we visit those deities, but we don't visit the deities in Kalna. That's too far away for the parikrama party to go. And
Did you ever go there, Maharaj?
no, I didn't.
I never went.
Govinda Maharaj said he never went there, except one time he had some legal business to do in Kalna. Years later when he was in the mission, and he took permission from Guru Maharaj to visit the temple. Nityananda Samarpila Jatikula Panti Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Kore Pranapati, making Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda the Lord of his life. Gauridas Pandit sacrificed everything for the service of Lord Nityananda, even the fellowship of his own family. Nityananda Prabhu Priya Pandita Purnanan Nityananda Prabhu Priya Pandita Purandar Premarnava Madhye Fire Jaichanam Mandar. The 13th important devotee of Sri Nityananda Prabhu was Pandita Purandar, who moved in the ocean of love of Godhead just like the Mandara hill. Pandita Purandar met Sri Nityananda Prabhu at Kadadaha. When Nityananda Prabhu visited this village, he danced very uncommonly, and his dancing captivated Purandar Pandit. The Pandit was in the top of a tree, and upon seeing the dancing of Nityananda, he jumped down on the ground and proclaimed himself to be Angada, one of the devotees in the camp of Hanuman during the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. In other words, he jumped down proclaimed himself to be like a monkey from the tree. Parameshwaradas Nityanandaika Sharan Krishna Bhakti Payatare Jaikore Smaran. Parameshwaradas, said to be the 5th Gopal of Krishna Lila, completely surrendered to the lotus feet of Nityananda. Anyone who remembers his name, Parameshwaradas, will get love of Krishna very easily. So Is that Parameshwar on the altar?
Yes.
Okay. Parameshwar Das, said to be the fifth Gopal of Krishna Lila, completely surrendered to the lotus feet of Nityananda. Anyone who remembers his name, Parameshwar Das, will get love of Krishna very easily. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, the Chaitanya Bhagavat states that Parameshwara Das, known sometimes as Parameshwari Das, was the life and soul of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. The body of Parameshwara Das was the place of Lord Nityananda's pastimes. Parameshwara Das, who lived for some time at Karadaha village, was always filled with the ecstasy of a cowherd boy. You have cows too?
Yes.
Okay.
One cow.
One cow. Formerly, he was Arjuna, friend of Krishna and Balaram. He was the fifth among the 12 Gopals. He accompanied Srimati Janavi Devi when she performed the festival at Kaituri. And he stayed in the Bhakti Ratnakara. And by the order of Srimati Janava Mata, he installed Radha Gopinath in the temple at Attapur in the district of Hooghly. Okay. Jagadish Pandit, Hoy Jagat, Pavan, Krishna, Premamrita Barshe, Jena Varshagan. Jagadish Pandit, the 15th branch of Lord Nityananda's followers, was the deliverer of the entire world. Devotional love of Krishna showered from him like torrents of rain. Nityananda Priya Britya Pandita Dhananjaya Adyanta Virakta Sada Krishna Prema Moya. The 16th dear servant of Nityananda Prabhu was Dhananjaya Pandit. He was very much renounced and always merged in love of Krishna. Mahesh Pandit, Brajera, Udara Gopal, Dakya, Badye Nritya Kore, Premi Matojal. Mahesh Pandit, the 7th of the 12 Gopals, was very liberal. In great love of Krishna, he danced to the beating of a kettle drum like a madman. Navadipe Purushottama Pandita Mahashai Nityananda Name Jara Mahunmarak Hoy. Purushottama Pandit, a resident of Navadip, was the 8th Gopal. He would become almost mad as soon as he heard the holy name of Nityananda Prabhu. Speaking of Mahesh, I was told that in Vrindavan, Mahesh recently passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a merchant we knew there.
Isn't he the one who coordinated getting the lands for the Vrindavan temple? Is that him?
It was his father,
His father,
Krishna Ballabha.
Krishna Ballabha, that's it, yeah.
So Purushottama Pandit, the resident of Navadip, was 8th Gopal. He became almost mad as soon as he heard the holy name of Nityananda Prabhu. And in one of the previous reports it said, about Pandit Dhananjaya, he was a resident of the village in Katwa named Shitala. He was one of the 12 Gopals. And here it's mentioned. Purushottama Pandit was the 8th Gopal. Balaram Dasha Krishna Prema Rasabadi Nityananda Name Hoy Parama Unmadi. Balaram Das always fully tasted the nectar of love of Krishna. Upon hearing the name of Nityananda Prabhu, he would become greatly maddened. Mahabhagavat Jarunatha Kavichandra Jahara Ridoye Nritya Kori Nityananda Jagannath Kavichandra was a great devotee. Lord Nityananda Prabhu always danced in his heart. So we're hearing many names and sometimes places, and it's hard to follow all these persons. But also we should recall that Srila Maharaj, he said this is all part of what we might consider to be ontology or ontological development. That we have some idea of who the different persons in the Chaitanya and Nityananda Lila are. And because this is chapter 11, in chapter 13 we'll actually begin hearing more about the actual activities of, it's chapter 13, always part of it is always sung on Gaur Purnima. It's the appearance of Mahaprabhu. Then chapters 14, 15, 16, 17, those chapters will give some information about Mahaprabhu's development during his childhood and his activities. And then in the Adi-lila, then we begin hearing more about Mahaprabhu's later lila. So it is said the initial part is it's been described Mahaprabhu like Gaur Narayan, and it's actually later, we might say it's Mahaprabhu's Grihastha Lila. Then later we'll begin to hear it after chapter 17, so 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 we'll hear about Mahaprabhu's development. Then we'll begin with the Madhya Lila, which principally concerns Mahaprabhu's travels. After he came to Jagannath Puri, and then converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and many of the residents of Jagannath Puri. Then went to South India, and his travels to and from Jagannath Puri, South India to Vrindavan, all that's in Madhya Lila. And then Antya Lila is Mahaprabhu's intimate dealings with his devotees, especially the latter 12 years of his time on this earth life. Okay, so Navadipe Purushottama Panditamasha Nityananda Nami Jara Mahonmara Hoy. Purushottama Pandit, a resident of Navadip, was the 8th Gopal. He would become almost mad as soon as he heard the holy name of Nityananda Prabhu. Balaram Das Krishna Prema Rasabadi Nityananda Name Hoy Parama Unmari. Balaram Das always fully tasted the nectar of love of Krishna. Upon hearing the name of Nityananda Prabhu, he would become greatly maddened. Mahabhagavat Yadunatha Kavichandra Jahara Ridaye Nritya Kori Nityananda. Yadunath Kavichandra was a great devotee. Lord Nityananda Prabhu always danced in his heart. Radhe Jarajanma Krishnadasa Dvijabar Sri Nityananda Teho Parama Kinkar. The 21st devotee of Sri Nityananda in Bengal was Krishnadas Brahman, who was a first-class servant of the Lord. Kala Krishnadas Bora Vaishnava Pradhan Nityananda Chandra Binu Nahij Janiyan. The 22nd devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu was Kala Krishnadas, who was the 9th cowherd boy. He was a first-class Vaishnava and did not know anything beyond Nityananda Prabhu. In the Gauragana Desh Deepika it is said that Kala Krishnadas, who was also known as Kaliya Krishnadas, was formerly a Gopa, cowherd boy of the name Lavanga. He was one of the 12 cowherd boys. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Kaliya Krishnadas had his headquarters in a village named Akai Hata, which is situated in the district of Bardwan within the jurisdiction of the post office and police station of Katwa. It is situated on the road to Navadip. Sri Sadashiva Kaviraja Bora Mahashai Sri Purushotamadas Tahara Tanoi. The 23rd and 24th prominent devotees of Nityananda Prabhu were Sadashiva Kaviraj and his son Purushotamadas, who was the 10th Gopal. Ajanmani Magna Nityananda Charane Nirantara Bhaya Lila Korik Krishna Sane. From birth, Purushotamadas was merged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and he always engaged in childish play with Lord Krishna. Taraputra Mahashai Sri Kanu Thakur Jaradeki Rahe Krishna Premamrita Pur. Sri Kanu Thakur, a very respectable gentleman, was the son of Purushotamadas Thakur. He was such a great devotee that Lord Krishna always lived in his body. Mahabhagavata Shrestha Datta Udaran Sarva Bhabe Sebe Nityanandera Charan. Udaran Datta Thakur, the 11th among the 12 cowherd boys, was an exalted devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. He worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda in all respects. Okay. Acharya Vaishnava Nanda Bhakti Adhikari Purvinama Shilajara Raghunatha Puri. The 27th prominent devotee of Nityananda Prabhu was Acharya Vaishnava Nanda, a great personality in devotional service. He was formerly known as Raghunath Puri. Vishnudas, Nandana, Gangadas, Teenbai, Purvejaragari, Shila Thakura Nitai. Another important devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu was Vishnudas, who had two brothers, Nandana and Gangadas. Lord Nityananda Prabhu sometimes stayed at their house. The three brothers, Vishnudas, Nandan, and Gangadas, were residents of Navadip and belonged to the Bhattacharya Brahmin family. Both Vishnudas and Gangadas stayed for some time with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri, and the Chaitanya Bhagavat states that formerly Nityananda Prabhu stayed at their house. So that would be the house of Nandanacharya, right? Which is one of the places which we go on the first day of Navadip Dham Parikrama. That's where when Nityananda Prabhu came to Navadip to be with Mahaprabhu, he stayed at the house of Nandanacharya, and Mahaprabhu sent the devotees to look for him, and they couldn't find him, and then Mahaprabhu went to the house, took the devotees and showed them Nityananda Prabhu at the house of Nandanacharya, and there. Then they embraced Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, and then I believe it Srivas Thakur. Today's disappearance day of. What is today? Srinivasacharya. Okay, Srinivasacharya. Srinivasacharya, he is one of the three persons who stayed with Jiva Goswami at the Radha Damodar temple. It's Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and also
Shamananda.
pardon me?
Shamananda.
Shamananda used to be, well, Shamananda was a disciple of Gauridas Pandit. We heard about Gauridas Pandit. Hridaya Chaitanya was his disciple, and we heard also Gauridas Pandit was associate of Nityananda Prabhu, and he's in that, principally in that Sakya-ras, and his disciple Hridaya Chaitanya also before, Shamananda was known as Sukhi Krishnadas, but later he became, Vishaka, who is looking for the bracelet of
I think it was Lalita.
Lalita? Okay, I've heard different.
I'm not sure.
But anyway, he was looking for the bracelet of Radharani near the Jamuna, and Shamananda found that bracelet, gave it to her, and then she told him to bathe in the river. He bathed in the river, and he saw in the river that his appearance changed from masculine to feminine, and he was given that bracelet on his forehead as a mark of tilak. Anyway, then he became known as, there's more to it, but that became known as Shamananda. And Hridaya Chaitanya went there upset that he had changed his name and was wearing this unusual tilak. But then Shamananda said, well, if you can erase it from my head, do so. But then Hridaya Chaitanya rather, then he understood what had happened. He was very happy. So that, with Shamananda was Srinivasacharya. And also was Narottam Das Thakur, the three of them. Now I heard some story about Srinivasacharya. I don't know what that, when I heard, is this, you maybe heard this, maybe, pretty sure it was in relation with Srinivasacharya, that he wanted to go join the devotees in Vrindavan, but he was waiting because his wife was pregnant and due to give birth to a child. But when she gave birth to the child, she herself died in the childbirth. Then Srinivasacharya was wondering, what could he do? Now he had a responsibility of raising his child. Then at that time, one egg fell from the thatched roof or whatever it was to the floor, and when it hit the floor, a tiki lizard came out. When that tiki lizard came out, a small bug walked near the tiki lizard, and the newborn tiki lizard ate the bug. So then something he understood, that everything has happened by the will of the divine Lord, and things would go on. So he gave that child to the custody of some neighbor to raise, and then he went to Vrindavan. Anyway, I heard that story about Srinivasacharya, and he joined under the patronage of Jiva Goswami. And the three of them, Narottam, Shyamananda, and Srinivasacharya. Then later we're going to Bengal with the writings of the Goswamis, but that Vera, what's his name? Vera Bir.
Oh,
Bi-
Raj Bir Humbir, isn't it?
Raj Bir Ambir in Bihar, somewhere in Bihar.
Vishnupur.
Vishnupur. Anyway, an astrologer told him they were carrying great treasure, and they had a trunk of all the Goswami's books. And then he robbed that trunk, and they were heartbroken what they would do. But Srinivasacharya sent them ahead to preach in Bengal, and he stayed behind, and he converted the king. In some discussion they had, he converted the king, and then he was given back the books, and he later went to Bengal. Something I heard like that. Vishnudas Nandan Gangadas Tinbai Purve Jara Gare Chila Takuranitai. So it's that Srinivasacharya's disappearance day today. Another important devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu was Vishnudas, who had two brothers, Nandan and Gangadas. Lord Nityananda Prabhu sometimes stayed at their house. I'll read two more verses. And Nityananda Britya Paramananda Upadhyay Sri Jiva Pandita Nityananda Gunagai. Paramananda Upadhyaya was Nityananda Prabhu's great servitor. Sri Jiva Goswami glorified the qualities of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Sri Jiva Pandit. Paramananda Upadhyaya was Nityananda Prabhu's great servitor. Sri Jiva Pandit glorified the qualities of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Sri Paramananda Upadhyaya was an advanced devotee. His name is mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, where Sri Jiva Pandit is also mentioned as the second son of Ratnagarbhacharya and a childhood friend of Hadai Ojha, the father of Nityananda Prabhu. In the Gaur Ganadash Dipika it is said that Sri Jiva Pandit was formerly the gopi named Indira. Paramananda Gupta Krishna Bhakta Mahamati Purve Jara Gare Nityananda Masati. The 31st devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu was Paramananda Gupta, who was greatly devoted to Lord Krishna and highly advanced in spiritual consciousness. Formerly, Nityananda Prabhu also resided at his house for some time. Let's see. We only have a few more verses. So, Narayana Krishnadas Aramanohar Devananda Charibai Nitai Kinkar. The 32nd, 33rd, 34th, and 35th prominent devotees were Narayan, Krishnadas, Manohar, and Devananda, who always engaged in the service of Lord Nityananda. Hora Krishnadas Nityananda Prabhupran Nityananda Parabhinu Nahi Janayan. The 36th devotee of Lord Nityananda was Hora Krishnadas, whose life and soul was Nityananda Prabhu. He was always dedicated to the lotus feet of Nityananda, and he knew no one else but him. Nakari, Mukunda, Surya, Madhava, Sridhar, Ramananda, Basu, Jagannatha, Mahidar. Among Lord Nityananda's devotees, Nakari was the 37th, Mukunda the 38th, Surya the 39th, Madhava the 40th, Sridhar the 41st, Ramananda the 42nd, Jagannath the 43rd, and Mahidar the 44th. Shrimanda Gokula Das, Hariharananda, Shivai Nandai Avaduta Paramananda. Shrimant was the 45th, Gokula Das the 46th, Hariharananda the 47th, Shivai the 48th, Nandai the 49th, and Paramananda the 50th. Vasanta Navani Hora Gopala Sanatan Vishnai Hajara, Krishnananda, Sulochan. Vasanta was the 51st, Navani Hora the 52nd, Gopal the 53rd, Sanatan the 54th, Vishnai the 55th, Krishnananda the 56th, and Sulochana the 57th. Kamsari Sena, Ramasena, Ramachandra Kaviraj, Govinda, Shiranga, Mukunda, Teen Kaviraj. The 58th great devotee of Lord Nityananda Prabhu was Kamsari Sen. The 59th was Ramasena, the 60th was Ramachandra Kaviraj, and the 61st, 62nd, and 63rd were Govinda, Shiranga, and Mukunda, who were all physicians. Sri Ramachandra Kaviraj, the son of Kandavasi, Chiranjiva, and Sunanda, was a disciple of Srinivasacharya and the most intimate friend of Narottam Das Thakur, who prayed several times for his association. That's Ramachandra Kaviraj, who he mentions, who Narottam mentions in the song Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. His youngest brother was Govinda Kaviraj, who wrote the song Bhajahure Mana. Srila Jiva Goswami very much appreciated Sri Ramachandra Kaviraj's great devotion to Lord Krishna and therefore gave him the title Kaviraj. Sri Ramachandra Kaviraj, who was personally disinterested in family life, greatly assisted in the preaching work of Srinivasacharya and Narottam Das Thakur. He resided at first in Srikhanda, but later in the village of Kumaranagar on the bank of the Ganges. Govinda Kaviraj was the brother of Ramachandra Kaviraj and youngest son of Chiranjiva of Srikhanda. Although at first a Shakta, he was a devotee of Kalima. Although at first a Shakta, or worshipper of goddess Durga, he was later initiated by Srinivasacharya Prabhu. Govinda Kaviraj also resided first in Srikhanda and then in Kumaranagar, but later he moved to the village known as Telia Budari on the southern bank of the river Padma. Since Govinda Kaviraj, the author of 2 books, Sangita Madhava and Gitamrita, was a great Vaishnav Kavi or poet, Sri Jiva Goswami gave him the title Kaviraj. He is described in the Bhakti Ratnakara. Kamsari Sen was formerly Ratnavali in Braja, as described in the Gorganadesha Dipika. So, yeah, Govinda, Ramachandra, Narottam was very close to Ramachandra Kaviraj. And Ramachandra Kaviraj, his brother was Govinda Kaviraj, Govinda Das Kaviraj. And he received some personal communication from Kalima that she told him, what you're asking for is not within my province. He was praying for some progress in spiritual life, and she told him, if you want something material, I can give you that. But if you want these things, if you want actual advancement in devotion, you best pray to Govinda. And later he wrote that song, Bhajahure Mana. Bhajahure Mana Shinanda Nandana Avoya Charanara Vindare. Durlava Manava Janama Satsange Torae Bhava Sindare. Sita Atapa Bhatavarishana Edina Yamani Jagire. Bifali Sevinu Kripana Durajana Chapala Sukalobai Lagire. Edani Yovana Putra Parijana Itekiachi Parati Tire. Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala Bhajahun Haripara Niti Re. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Bandhana Pada Sevana Dashyare Pujana Sakijana. What is it? Pujana Sakijana Atmani Vedana Govinda Das Abhi Lasare. Very beautiful song. That was the brother of Ramachandra Kaviraj, Govinda Kaviraj. Govinda Das Kaviraj wrote that. Bhaja Hurema. Among the Pitambara Madhvacharya Das, Damodar, Shankara Makunda, Jnanadas Manohar. I'm just going to... I have 8 more verses.
Sorry, because I have a Zoom meeting and I need to finish. I have some calls.
Okay. Pitambara Madhvacharya Das, Damodar, Shankara Makunda, Jnanadas, Manohar. Among the devotees of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Pitambar was the 64th, Madhvacharya the 65th, Damodar Das the 66th, Shankar the 67th, Makunda the 68th, Jnanadas the 69th, and Manohar the 70th. Nartaka Gopal, Ramabhadra, Gaurangadas, Nrsinga Chaitanya, Minaketan, Ramadas. The dancer Gopal was the 71st, Ramabhadra the 72nd, Gaurangadas the 73rd, Nrsinga Chaitanya the 74th, and Minaketan Ramdas the 75th. Vrindavana Das, Narayanera Nandan, Chaitanya Mangala Jeho, Korila Rachan. Vrindavan Das Thakur, the son of Srimati Narayani, composed Sri Chaitanya Mangal, later known as Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Bhagavate Krishna Lila Varnila Vedavyas Chaitanya Lila Te Vyasa Vrindavana Das. Srila Vyasadeva described the pastimes of Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vyasa, the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was Vrindavan Das. Sarvashaka Shrestha Virabhadra Gosai Tara Upashaka Jata Tara Antanai. Among all the branches of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Virabhadra Gosai was the topmost. His sub-branches were unlimited. Ananda Nityananda Gan Ke Karuganan Atma Patibrata Hetu Likilan Katajan. No one can count the unlimited followers of Nityananda Prabhu. I've mentioned some of them just for my self-purification. Is Sarvashaka, Purna, Patva, Prima Fale, Jarideke, Taridiya, Basaila, Sakale. All these branches, the devotees of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, being full of ripened fruits of love of Krishna, distributed these fruits to all they met, flooding them with love of Krishna. Anargala Prema Sabar Cheshta Anargal Prema Dite Krishna Dite Tare Mahabal. All these devotees had unlimited strength to deliver unobstructed, unceasing love of Krishna. By their own strength, they could offer anyone Krishna and love of Krishna. Sankepi Kohilan E Nityanandagan Jahara Abadina Pai Sahasrabadan. I have briefly described only some of the followers and devotees of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Even the 1,000-mouthed Seshanaga cannot describe all of these unlimited devotees. Shri Rupa Raghunath Parijara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishnadas. With an ardent desire to serve the purpose of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, I Krishnadas narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi-lila, 11th chapter, in the matter of the expansions of Lord Nityananda. Okay. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah. Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Janardan Shiva Sari Gora Bhaktivedanta. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raguna. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhakta Dasa Raguna. Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jao Ite Vignana Shabishta Puran. Jai Gosai Jar Mui Taradas. Tasamar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Hare Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Janame More Abhilas. Jai Gosai Jabe Bhaje Kolabas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Bhade Majai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Puriyan. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Hara Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Rakshidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuka Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath, Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Prem Sigo, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi, Shri Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Pavan, Janardan ki jai.
Shri Kartik Brata Ki Jai, Shri Damodar Brata Ki Jai, Shri Niyama Seva Ki Jai, Shri Urja Brata Ki Jai, Shri Gopastami Ki Jai, Shri Dhananjaya Pandit, Shri Gadadhar Das, and Shri Srinivasacharya Tirobal Mahotsav Ki Jai, divine disappearance day of these persons Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
So Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.